For years, the Beckham clan looked untouchable, the picture-perfect family with flawless smiles, high-end parties, and that we're on top of the world vibe. But that picture's starting to crack, and what's spilling out is pure chaos for everyone to see. Right in the middle of this storm, Brooklyn Beckham, his wife Nicola Peltz, and her billionaire father Nelson Peltz, a man who, according to insiders, never thought Brooklyn was worthy of his daughter. What once was quiet tension and subtle side eyes at family dinners has now turned into a no-holds-barred family feud, and it's getting uglier by the day. We're talking legal letters being tossed around like confetti, public statements slicing deeper than knives, and a chilly silence replacing what used to be love.
Had my family been in the press lately? I haven't noticed that at all.
Some say the damage is way past repair. Bridges have been torched, trust is shattered, and everyone's done pretending everything's picture perfect. The question now is shaking up the internet. Has Brooklyn really found his own identity, or has he been completely swallowed up by the powerful Peltz empire? Because behind those shiny Instagram photos and over-the-top love posts, there's a full-on power struggle happening. The real shocker came when Brooklyn went public, airing it all out online and blasting his own parents in a long, emotional social media post. Brooklyn didn't just throw shade, he went all in. He straight up accused David and Victoria Beckham of twisting the story, putting their image above family, and constantly disrespecting his wife, Nicola. This wasn't your usual celebrity drama, it was a full-blown online war, and Brooklyn came locked and loaded with zero filters. There was no chance of anyone twisting his words this time. He made sure of that.
My advice is stay the hell out of the press. I mean, so how much good did that do? But, you know, my daughter and the Beckhams are a whole other story, but I'll tell you, my daughter is great. My son-in-law, Brooklyn, is great, and I look forward to them having a long, happy marriage together.
Then he doubled down, making it crystal clear that he was riding with Nicola no matter what. Any hope for a family truce? Gone. What shocked fans wasn't just the words, it was how final they sounded. No olive branch, no we're working on things, no warm family reunion vibes, just a cold, clean cut that left everyone's jaws on the floor. But that's not even the craziest part. Insiders close to the Beckhams swear that Brooklyn's explosive post didn't come out of nowhere. Something huge reportedly went down behind the scenes before the drama hit the internet.
And particularly with your family. Your daughter recently has been...
Had my family been in the press lately? I haven't noticed that at all.
But I just wonder from your perspective if you've been able to, you offer your family any advice on how to navigate such situations.
I do. I do.
Word is, David and Victoria sent their son a private letter. No social media posts, no leaks, no middleman, just a personal message straight to him. Why? Because by then, the family's communication had completely crashed. And here's the real shocker. Brooklyn allegedly fired back with a cease and desist notice, telling his own parents to stop mentioning him publicly and to run all contact through their lawyers. It wasn't just a family feud anymore. It had turned into a high-stakes legal showdown that no one saw coming. That one legal move sent shockwaves through the entire Beckham circle, but it wasn't the legal papers that broke them. It was the suspicion about who was really behind it all. Sources close to the family say David and Victoria were convinced this wasn't Brooklyn's idea alone. They believed there was some serious influence coming from Nicola and her powerhouse family, especially her billionaire father, Nelson Peltz. And that letter the Beckhams sent, it wasn't angry or full of threats, it was heartbreaking.
Brooklyn's truly like my best friend and also like the love of my life, so it's been nice.
Insiders reveal it was deeply emotional, filled with worry, love, and personal words from two parents desperate to reach their son. No legal talk, no ultimatums, just a plea for one thing, proof that he was okay. But instead of cooling things down, that letter blew everything wide open. Only days later, Brooklyn went public again, dropping a fiery post that made it crystal clear he wasn't backing down. He claimed he was finally standing up for himself and snapped back hard at all the whispers that Nicola was the one calling the shots. It was bold, messy, and impossible to ignore. Then came the twist. Brooklyn fired back, saying the whole story was totally twisted. He insisted it wasn't Nicola pulling any strings. It was his own parents who had been controlling his life for years. He swore he was done living under anyone's control and was never going back. But here's where the story splits, because while Brooklyn insists he's finally free,
I think it gets time to get used to it. Obviously it's not the best thing to see people writing not the nicest of things. We have each other's back more than anything. So I think we've just both learned to don't listen to that.
every single move he's made since cutting ties tells a totally different story. Fans are watching closely, wondering if this independence he's fighting for is real or just another chapter in the Peltz versus Beckham power war. Ever since the fallout, Brooklyn's entire world seems to orbit around the Peltz family. He's living deep in their universe, showing up at their fancy gatherings, and, according to insiders, only speaking to his parents through middlemen now. That's why people are starting to say this isn't just family tension anymore. It's turning into a full-blown power struggle. And the one moment that everyone can't stop talking about? The wedding, especially the now infamous first dance. Brooklyn claimed that during what was supposed to be his big romantic moment with Nicola, his mom, Victoria, suddenly stepped in and took over the dance floor. He said it left him completely humiliated and exposed in front of everyone. According to him, Nicola ran out of the room in tears right after it happened. That moment didn't just spark gossip, it may have been the match that lit the entire family feud on fire.
What is that relationship like, just walking around the house with them? Are they just the best?
They're really the best people, and I'm so excited Victoria's here tonight, and it means the world to me. She made my outfit, she customized this beautiful look, and I'm just so happy to have her here tonight.
Some people remember that night differently, but there's one thing no one can deny. That dance changed everything. Witnesses say the energy in the room flipped in seconds. What started as a night filled with glitz, love, and celebration suddenly cracked straight down the middle. Instead of joining two powerful families, that single dance drew an invisible line that's still there to this day. Even people who tried to stay neutral admit that the dance had nothing to do with music, timing, or rhythm. It was about control, pride, and who really held the spotlight that night. That night wasn't just about a dance, it was about emotions, respect, and boundaries colliding in front of everyone. What looked like a sweet mother-son moment actually turned into a silent showdown over space, pride, and power. For Nicola, that moment seemed to mark the point of no return, and once the wedding was over, insiders say she made her stance crystal clear. No more pretending everything was fine.
According to sources, Brooklyn was suddenly caught in an impossible position: keep the peace with his mom or stand firm beside his wife. And from that day on, it was obvious where his loyalty landed. In the end, he made one brutal choice, and he chose Nicola. No hesitation, no turning back. Since then, things between Brooklyn and his family have turned ice cold. Invitations have reportedly been ignored, family events skipped without explanation, and all real communication completely cut off. It's like the Beckham bond that once looked unbreakable has been frozen solid. Insiders say Nicola hasn't budged an inch. She stood her ground and refuses to show up anywhere David or Victoria might be present. Whether people see that as protecting her peace or pulling a serious power move depends on how you look at it. But one thing's clear, the fallout is impossible to miss. Brooklyn Beckham, once the golden boy of one of the world's most glamorous families, now stands almost completely cut off from the people who raised him, and the silence between them is louder than ever. While Nicola keeps shining in the spotlight, the real power player in this whole storm has been sitting back quietly, watching it all unfold from the shadows. Her father, Nelson Peltz. The billionaire investor and corporate heavyweight doesn't play by celebrity rules. He operates in an entirely different league. A man built on control, structure, and strategy, Nelson doesn't make noise, he makes moves. And according to insiders, he's never exactly been impressed by Brooklyn. Reports say Nelson has brushed off all of Brooklyn's career attempts, from photography to cooking to lifestyle branding, seeing them as scattered and without real direction. No public digs, no shouting matches, just that cold, quiet kind of doubt that cuts way deeper. And when someone like Nelson Peltz, a man who holds both power and empire-level money, isn't fully sold on you, that silence speaks volumes. Especially when that same person basically runs the world you've now married into. But here's the twist that's got everyone whispering and worrying about Brooklyn's future. Before the big wedding, a strict prenuptial agreement was signed, and the terms were as clear as glass. If the marriage ever fell apart, Brooklyn wouldn't see a single penny of the Peltz family fortune. Under that deal, he'd only leave with whatever he and Nicola built together and nothing more. That clause didn't just raise eyebrows because of the money. It raised serious questions about trust, control, and how much faith the Peltz family really had in this picture-perfect love story. That prenup didn't just raise eyebrows, it raised alarms about control. People close to the situation say this isn't just about protecting the Peltz billions, it's about who really holds the power in this marriage. If Brooklyn's relationship ever fell apart, the fallout wouldn't just be emotional, it would be devastating. After cutting off his parents, he wouldn't just lose his wife, he'd lose his entire safety net. And that's exactly what insiders claim keeps David and Victoria awake at night, the fear that their son has unknowingly handed over his entire future to someone else's control. For any parent, that's the ultimate nightmare, and those close to the Beckhams say this worry has haunted them ever since the family split began. Still, despite all the heartbreak, silence, and chaos, those near the Beckhams insist the door home is still wide open. They say David and Victoria would welcome Brooklyn back in a heartbeat. No conditions, no public apology, no deals to be made. Just pure love, simple and unconditional. But Brooklyn's stance, it couldn't be clearer. He says he has no regrets, that he finally spoke his truth, and that walking away was the best decision he's ever made. He feels completely justified, and he's standing firm on it. Meanwhile, the rest of the Beckham family just keeps moving forward. His siblings are thriving, their careers are rising, and the legendary Beckham brand keeps rolling like an unstoppable machine. But behind that polished image, there's still one missing piece: Brooklyn. Now, voices from his past, people who knew him before the spotlight, before the fame, and long before Nicola, are starting to speak up. They're asking the one question that's got everyone thinking. Is this freedom Brooklyn's fighting for really freedom at all, or just another kind of cage dressed up in luxury? What's being said now isn't flattering for anyone involved. One of the most surprising voices to step into the conversation didn't come from Hollywood, it came straight from the world of football. Brooklyn's former youth coach from his time at Queen's Park Rangers finally broke his silence, and his words hit like a punch. He didn't take sides, no defending David or Victoria, no cheering for Brooklyn either. Instead, he painted a picture that left people seriously unsettled. The coach spoke about a childhood that looked glamorous on the outside, but was quietly filled with pressure, anxiety, and emotional distance. According to him, Brooklyn grew up surrounded by full-time security guards as young as 14, always being watched, always protected, but never truly free. He said that fame and fortune didn't bring peace, it just brought more pressure to be flawless all the time. His words pulled the curtain back on the glossy Beckham image, giving people a rare glimpse into what life behind those designer smiles was really like. For the first time, the world began to understand that the cracks in this perfect picture had started forming long before Brooklyn ever decided to walk away.
Even for someone used to coaching kids from famous families, the coach admitted there were moments that felt downright unsettling. He didn't point fingers, didn't blame anyone by name, but his message was loud and clear. Brooklyn didn't grow up like other kids. He grew up in a bubble, isolated, guarded, and constantly told who to be and how to act. That lack of a normal life, the coach said, made him vulnerable. Vulnerable to pressure, to influence, and to believing that cutting everyone off was the only way to protect himself. And this is where things get truly uncomfortable, because once you see how deeply that kind of life shapes a person, it's hard not to wonder if Brooklyn's rebellion was really defiance or just the fallout of a childhood lived under glass. When you strip away all the drama, emotions, and headlines, one truth starts to shine through the noise. Nicola didn't leave her world to join Brooklyn's. Brooklyn left his to join hers. She stayed close to her powerful family, kept her inner circle locked tight, and never once let go of her financial independence. Meanwhile, Brooklyn drifted further and further from everything he was raised with, the order, the structure, and the safety net that came with being a Beckham. He traded all of that for life inside the Peltz empire, anchoring his entire emotional world to one household. And that move didn't just shift his lifestyle, it completely rewrote the power dynamic of his life. Now people can't stop asking, will Brooklyn ever find real balance again? Because the truth is, the real imbalance isn't in public statements or online feuds, it's inside the Peltz household itself. And what's got people most concerned isn't that anyone's a villain or that Brooklyn's weak, it's the isolation. When one person or one powerful family becomes your entire emotional anchor, their influence grows quietly, almost invisibly, and they don't even have to say a word for it to take over. That kind of silent control, it's stronger than any argument shouted out loud. And through all the chaos, one man has stayed completely in the shadows. Nelson Peltz. No denials, no public defenses, no flashy statements, just total silence. But when it comes to Nelson, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. People who know his world describe him as sharp, methodical, and impossible to impress with fame or celebrity charm. To him, image means nothing, results mean everything. And that's what makes his quiet presence in all this even more chilling. Because if Nelson's not speaking, it's not by accident, it's because he's already several moves ahead. Sources say Nelson Peltz sees Brooklyn as talented but scattered. A young man with potential, sure, but no solid direction yet, still leaning on the Beckham name more than he even realizes. And when someone like Nelson, a billionaire who plays chess with corporations, quietly forms an opinion like that, it doesn't just fade into the background, it shapes everything happening behind those mansion doors. That perception might not be entirely fair, but in circles where power and status rule, perception is everything. And insiders claim Nelson's doubts have only gotten stronger as Brooklyn's feud with his parents keeps boiling over. Because in elite worlds like theirs, cutting off your own family doesn't signal independence, it signals instability. It sparks whispers, stirs up judgment, and raises questions about loyalty, maturity, and control. Behind all the headlines, there's another layer quietly driving this story. Brooklyn's identity crisis when it comes to his career. One month it's photography, then cooking, then lifestyle branding. Every few months there's a new direction, another reinvention. Each shift draws side-eye from the public and, reportedly, private concern from inside the Peltz circle. While David Beckham built his global empire on years of discipline, focus, and consistency, Brooklyn's journey looks more like trial and error, full of experiments, half-finished projects, and restarts. To outsiders, it seems like he's still searching for what truly defines him, who he is beyond the last name, beyond the fame, beyond the family drama. And for a family like the Peltzes, who value control, structure, and long-term vision above everything else, that kind of unpredictability doesn't sit easy. The contrast between the Beckhams and the Peltzes is huge. One side built on legacy, loyalty, and image, the other driven by power, precision, and unshakable order. And right now, Brooklyn is caught in the middle,
torn between two worlds that couldn't be more different, trying to prove he belongs in one without losing himself completely in the other. While the Beckham world runs on legacy, loyalty, and image, the Peltz world runs on results, leverage, and dominance. And when those two forces collide, tension isn't just likely, it's guaranteed. Insiders say Nelson Peltz has never been totally convinced that Brooklyn brings enough to the table. Not financially, not strategically, and not symbolically either. For a man like Nelson, value isn't about romance or appearances, it's about power. And that's exactly where the imbalance between them starts to show. People close to David and Victoria say this version of Brooklyn didn't appear overnight. It happened slowly, almost like a quiet shift nobody noticed at first. Decisions Brooklyn once made for himself started being double-checked elsewhere. Conversations that used to feel personal suddenly sounded rehearsed, like every word had been pre-approved. And what used to be warm family discussions, they turned into lawyer-involved exchanges that felt cold and calculated. Those in the Beckham circle insist Brooklyn wasn't like this always. He didn't used to speak about his parents with distance or make them out to be the villains in his story. Somewhere along the line, they say, his voice changed, and so did the narrative he told about where he came from. Brooklyn, of course, completely rejects that version of events, calling it false from start to finish. But even so, the timing is hard to ignore, because the closer he got to Nicola and her world, the further he seemed to drift from his own. And here's the part that makes the whole feud even more telling. It's not just about who's in the fight, it's about who's isn't. Brooklyn's siblings have stayed close to David and Victoria, still showing up for birthdays, holidays, and big family moments. They keep posting photos, celebrating milestones, and showing love publicly, all without drama, distance, or division.
That difference says a lot. While the rest of the Beckham kids stay rooted in family, Brooklyn's story keeps spinning in a world where loyalty and control seem to mean two very different things. Brooklyn's siblings have managed to build their own lives, carve out their identities, and still keep that strong Beckham family bond intact. That contrast has sparked non-stop speculation. Maybe Brooklyn's story isn't about a family-wide issue at all, but something much more personal, something that only he's struggling with. And that's where the uncomfortable question hits. If the Beckham household was really as controlling as Brooklyn claims, why was he the only one to walk away completely and do it so publicly? Some people see his choice as brave, saying he finally stood his ground and spoke his truth loud and clear. But insiders whisper that behind the glamorous photos and confident interviews, the emotional cost has been brutal, leaving scars no spotlight can ever hide. No more casual calls, no random Sunday dinners, no family laughter echoing through the Beckham homes. Nothing. Every exchange between Brooklyn and his parents now reportedly runs through middlemen, filtered and formal, like a business transaction. And once a family bond turns into that kind of cold negotiation, rebuilding it isn't just difficult, it's nearly impossible. Most celebrity family feuds follow a predictable playbook: a public fallout, a stretch of silence, and then a teary reunion moment that melts the internet. But this story, it's breaking the mold completely, because this isn't just about emotions anymore, it's structural. We're talking about two powerhouse families, one built on discipline, image, and legacy, the other on wealth, influence, and control, and one young man caught helplessly between them. Brooklyn's not just fighting for independence, he's trapped between two worlds that don't play by the same rules. And right now, that clash of values isn't just keeping him apart from his parents, it's reshaping who he is, piece by piece, in front of everyone watching. The longer this rift drags on, the more it feels like the damage isn't just temporary, it's permanent. That's what makes this feud so intense. It's not about one argument or an awkward moment on the wedding dance floor. It's about control, loyalty, influence, and the kind of power struggle that can completely change the direction of someone's life. Now, the big question hanging over everything is, what happens if Brooklyn ever wants to go back? Walking away feels bold when you're certain you're right, but coming back, that's a whole different kind of battle. It takes humility, forgiveness, and accountability from both sides, and right now, none of that seems anywhere close to happening. Sources say David and Victoria Beckham are still open to reconciliation, their door always unlocked, their hearts still hopeful. But insiders whisper that not everyone in this tangled family web feels the same way. Even if Brooklyn wanted to reach out tomorrow, the path back wouldn't be simple, and it definitely wouldn't be guaranteed. Too many harsh words have been said, too many invisible lines have been crossed, and now every move he makes seems to come with consequences. So here's the real tension simmering underneath it all. Would Nicola even allow a reunion if Brooklyn suddenly had a change of heart? And the bigger question, would Nelson Peltz, the silent powerhouse behind the scenes, ever let that door reopen? Because if Nelson's silence really is strategy, then every quiet move he makes could be shaping the next chapter without anyone realizing it. Right now, it feels like the Beckham family is split across two worlds, one built on legacy and loyalty, and the other ruled by power and control, and one young man caught helplessly between them. On one side moves forward together, united, unshaken, and stronger than ever. The other stands apart, proud but painfully isolated. Brooklyn says he has no regrets, holding firm to the choice that changed everything. Meanwhile, David and Victoria insist they'll wait, however long it takes, no matter how deep the silence runs. Through it all, Nicola Peltz remains the one constant, steady, centered, and completely unshaken in her stance. Whether she's fiercely protecting her marriage or quietly steering the story from behind the scenes depends on who you ask, but one thing's undeniable: Brooklyn Beckham's life will never be the same again. The line between the world he left behind and the one he's living in now feels impossible to erase, and any road back looks messier than ever. This saga isn't just another celebrity drama. It's a story about power, loyalty, and what happens when love collides with legacy. It's about two families that built their empires in totally different ways, and one son caught in the middle, trying to prove he can stand tall in both worlds without losing himself completely. The Beckham-Peltz feud has become more than headlines. It's a reflection of what happens when fame, family, and control all mix and explode under the spotlight. If you love these explosive deep dives and want to keep up with every twist, hit that like, subscribe, and share button right now. Drop a comment below and tell us, whose side do you think really holds the power in this showdown? Because new stories are dropping fast, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.